Hello everyone and welcome back to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 53. Today I have a familiar face, Dan, and today we also have a newcomer to the podcast, Kris Caldwell. Thank you for coming out. I really do appreciate it. This topic and podcast is going to be all about softball at KPI, development of softball players and athletes. But before we get started with that, Kris, please, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Kris Caldwell, one of the new softball coaches here at KPI. Also head JV coach at St. Francis High School in Mountain View and coached for the Cal Nuggets travel team. Backgrounds in college hockey and baseball years ago. I've been coaching softball for 10, 15 years now.
Love it. So we're just going to get right into it, start the conversation. So the topic of today is development within softball players, right? And so the big thing is softball players are kind of be pushed into the side and not as cared about as much on the development side. Talk about, Dan, how you have seen that push from softball players to be like, we want this thing. We want the same thing.
Yeah. I'd say, first and foremost, I think most people don't know that we train softball players. Like, we are known as the baseball facility. And, we've had softball in this building and within our businesses for an extended period of time. Back in the day when it was the baseball academy and then I was running the gym inside of it, I had just transitioned from another facility that I was a part of bringing in softball and kind of changing the focus as far as, hey, we need to do physical development. We need to get to the weight room. We need to get stronger. And so develop some relationships and partnerships with different teams and different players. And the focus at that time was just purely strength and conditioning, arm care, and throwing mechanics. And so, that crop of athletes now, most of them are sophomores in college. That was the springboard to get into, okay, we want to do hitting and strength and conditioning, really mirror our baseball program where, okay, we need to do development on both sides, not just physical development, not just skill development, and they need to integrate, they need to work together because they are connected. And the softball program as a whole slowly started to grow, and I think the two biggest things that we struggled with, and we, these are obstacles we still have to overcome right now, is first and foremost, when a softball player is looking to develop, they go to travel ball, they go to lessons, they go to skill development. And we'll probably hit this on again. And I think the second part, and this is more that we had control over, and this is why I'm pumped to have Kris on staff and really starting to take the lead on what we do here softball-wise, is we really need somebody that isn't me taking charge on the softball program, because I'm always going to get pulled into other things. I have other responsibilities. And so our softball program as a whole has always been present. We've gotten up to 60 softball players training with us, but our retention was really poor. I would argue that our results weren't at the level that I personally wanted for our softball players. During that time frame, we had turnover of coaches, we had turnover of clients. I think now we have this really strong, vision of here's what softball needs, and if you want this great buy-in, do what we want you to do. You need to be training here twice a week. You need to be hitting with us, buy into the tech, all the metrics. I think, and Kris and I were just talking about this week, we are in a position to really blow up on the softball side. We're already doing it on the baseball side. We're bringing the same quality and focus that we have for our baseball players to all of our softball players, and I think this goes perfect to the next probably talking point. Our softball population is starving for it. They really want it, right?
Mm-hmm. So, and to that point, I'm going to touch on it just a little bit, but Kris, you talked about it a little bit, being on the travel ball side and being in the high school coaching side. You are on field development, your skill development, which Dan, to his point, is really what they're looking for. How have you seen these players not being developed but more groomed to liking that side of the field?
It's kind of a catch-22, right? So travel ball coaches want to win, right? So they coach to win, they practice to win. So a lot of development doesn't happen in practice. They're required to do it on your own, right? So, but then you go to an outside coach, that could be an issue with the travel ball coach, right? So there's issues there. So what happens is one of two things that's happening. Either a girl, you don't develop the way you should in the coach's eyes, so he finds someone else that can play that spot. Or the girl doesn't develop the way she does, so she doesn't like the game as much, she doesn't know the game, doesn't understand it, so she stops playing, right? So it's a win-now mentality, which is lose-lose for everyone in the long run. That's why you see a ton of drop-off, especially between the 10U, 12U, and 14U ages. You see a ton of girls stop playing.
Yeah, I think that's why I've gotten so passionate about the softball side is we, as a whole, want the two limiting factors to players achieving their goals and getting better to be completely in the control of the athlete.
Yeah.
their work ethic, how hard are you willing to work, and then their mentality. How much are you going to push yourself, and how much do you believe you're going to achieve your goals? Yeah. Softball players have no problem working hard. Okay. The work that's given to them usually is crap. Straight up, brutally honest, like just crushing work. You're going to condition them. We need to make them in better shape. They need to be conditioned. So we're just going to run them and do burpees and do CrossFit workouts, and we're going to have it be done in their backyards and just run them into the ground, right? Okay, we need reps. So we're just going to line everybody up and smash balls at them and expect basically, this trial by fire. If you survive the fire, then you get to achieve this goal of playing at the next level. Yeah. And if you don't, then you literally burn out and you either go to another organization or you just stop playing. And so, I think the current state of softball player development, especially, I think this is across the board, but in our area specifically, is either you are good enough and all the teams are trying to poach you and steal you, or you're not good enough and you're being shuffled in the lineup, different positions. Oh, you're not good enough to be a shortstop, so you're going to go to second. You're not good enough to be second base, so I'm going to stick you in right field. Or you're getting shuffled within organizations. Yep. And so I'm going to go from this org to this org to this org to this org, and it is not in the best interest of the player. And it is the system on the softball side up is set up to be in the best interest of the travel ball organizations as a whole. And we as KPI want to put power back into the players' hands.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the same on the baseball side, but especially on the softball side, there's skipping of there's no more rec. Kids are at 8-10U trying to go to travel ball. Yeah. They're trying to get to that so fast. When I was coming up, you didn't leave until you were 14 years old. You played Little League all the way through, and you got everything you needed in that program. Now you don't. And you still, even at the travel ball level, the coaching is not the best, right? So you luck out if you get a good coach or not. That really takes a care in developing those players. My attitude is I need to develop them for whatever's next. When they leave my program, I want them to say, all right, we get a player from St. Francis or from the Nuggets, playing for that coach, I know she knows the game, knows she's developed to this certain level. That's just not the case with a lot of these.
And I think it's true. We're seeing it now happen and it's happening on the baseball side. I think the hard part and the difference between the baseball and the softball side is girls hit puberty sooner. Yeah. So 8 to 10 years old is a really crucial time for a female softball player because physiologically they are ahead of our males. Yep. A baseball player physiologically at like 12 to 11 to 13, that's when they're primed and it's crucial. Yeah. So the draw to go play travel ball, I think on the softball side, at least what I've seen, is the sell of better coaches. But it's literally just dad coaches going from the rec team to a travel ball team and then charging more money. Yep. I think the next sell is better competition. But we have
it's watered down now.
4 exactly because anybody can be a travel team, and now we have 4 travel entities like ASA and PJF and Alliance, and you have all these entities that are providing tournaments. So then you don't know what competition you're getting, anyways. Right. And then I think the last is like the travel organizations and the connections as far as recruiting at the next level. But again, you shouldn't be talking about that to an 8-10-year-old.
No. And what ends up happening is, at the 8-10 years old, they get so skill specific, the athleticism is coached right out of them. Yeah. Right? And so again, if you can't pick up that skill and you can't be an athlete, you can't play this game anyway.
No, so I completely agree.
It's tough.
Yeah, there are a lot of villains on the softball side.
Well, no, for sure. And to touch on one more, and I'm listening to this and it's very insightful, and I hope everybody at home is listening and thinking the same thing, but I want to know, for the people who are in this situation with a 10 to 12 and even, let's say, 8-year-old for in fact, how do you not go, I want to play games, I want my child to play games, instead of the development side where you see them go into a facility, right? And here, the athletes get the same thing the baseball players do. They get individualized development, hitting, throwing, strength, all encompassing in this one place for whether it's baseball, softball, basketball, rugby, right? We try to make this place for all athletes. We care about them first. But back to my question, how do you entice a parent not to go, yeah, your kid is okay playing games, just send them here?
I think right now is, and we've been talking about this on a marketing side, we've had players come into our building who have made tremendous progress. Our ability to market that and show that progress has been limited, and I think I take responsibility for that, where my ability to present these athletes who have gotten significantly better or are currently dominating. Within this building we had 2 juniors of the year last year. Mm-hmm. We had multiple girls.
It's how I got drawn to KPI. A girl from my high school, from my team, didn't play that much. She struggled. Fast forward a few months, I started working with her and seeing her, it's a huge difference. That's what she was doing, so I came to KPI. And it was a huge difference.
Yeah. So I think that you're going to start seeing more and more of athletes getting better within this building. I think you're going to see more and more and athletes talking about, I went to KPI and I improved because of that. I think the selling point to that family to not be tempted and to just fall into the same trap that all these families are falling into is having a long-term vision. Like, what does your daughter want? And then what do you want for your daughter? Do you want your daughter to feel in control? Do you want them to know that the work I put in is actually getting me better? Do you want them to feel fulfillment? Hey, I like doing these things. I think the majority of the softball players in this building like coming to KPI. Where you ask them about high school practice or travel ball practice, it's like, I'd rather be at KPI.
Right.
I've heard that multiple times.
And they take ownership of their own development, right? But it's like, look at the long-term goals of what these players are. I mean, this is the place to be, no doubt.
Yeah.
Right, because that thing is overlooked, especially on the softball side. You add in the weight training, the physical part of it, it's going to increase their skill development tenfold.
Yes.
Yep.
Right, and that's a huge separator for a lot of girls.
Yeah.
And another one, like we're about to talk about right now, is kind of the reason, like we talked about, your interest in KPI was being able to see the strides of an athlete that has come here, struggled before, and now is excelling at their sport. The hitting side, right, and understanding. Talk about a little bit about how that has been running and how that's been going so far.
So I'll take a step back. For what happens with a lot of girls is there's a quote unquote a local hitting coach. A lot of girls go to half-hour slots. He's just pumping them in and out, and follow his own. He's doing what he thinks is best. But these girls will do what you tell them to do. So unfortunately, a lot of girls learn the wrong thing. They do a lot of reps the wrong way over and over. I had to do it last year. I cut 2 girls to my team. Their parents came to talk to me, and the coach came to the players. Said, "What? I've been going to see a pitching coach and hitting coach the past 4 years." I said, "You saw the wrong rep." Yeah. I mean, because nothing improved. Yeah. Right. So coming here, we have the data and the metrics to use that to spur on development. Right, and use that as the key. Softball's behind, I think, baseball, probably about 10 to 15 years of where we are in the metrics wise. So now we have all that data-driven ability to make decisions by data and really quantify what we're doing, show what we're doing and why we're doing it. Again, girls be bought in way fast, and that's how to get the parents bought in. Yeah, right, because they know you're doing something the right way.
And I think that's the reason that the softball development program is set up the way that it is the current system says you got to find the smartest coach. Right, you got to find the person who's going to fix my kid. We got to tweak their mechanics, right? And it's like I make the joke, like your kid's not a car. We're not taking them to the shop and tweaking them. Exactly. So I think the way that the system has been set up is again to put the athlete at the center and give them the resources, give them the feedback, give them as much coaching as they need, and then just saying figure it out. And I think for the reason our softball program has taken some time to buy into this is it's uncomfortable and parents hate it. Yeah. Like parents, you talk to a softball parent, like we have baseball parents who have never stepped foot in this facility.
That's true. They've never. All around
they will every single family, and I understand why.
Rightfully so.
Male coaches, male athletes. My daughter's going in there. She's 12 to 14 years old. I completely understand. But like what they are used to is I sit there and I watch my daughter be coached in this one-on-one environment, and then I see that exactly. I see that. Whereas, hey, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to give you this monthly report of their data to say, hey, like, is it actually improving? And we're going to make sure that it actually shows up on the field. We need on-field development. We can't just, in the lesson or in the practice, I got better, and then go to games and like, I fell back to old habits and I'm not getting the results that I want. Yeah. I think the softball development system we have in place is equal parts physical development, bigger, faster, stronger, and then hitting development. Okay, we need to improve your swing. We need to improve your ability to cover the zone, hit the ball hard, manage pressure, spin, movement, all that stuff. And I think, again, our softball program, comparative to what the norm is out there, we've kind of flipped it on its head. Like, you will hit on tees and you will do front toss, but it will be a fraction of what you do in this facility. Sure. You will have a full individualized warm-up and lifting routine. Yeah. You will have an arm care and throwing routine to make sure you're working on proper throwing mechanics, which is another area that's really poorly taught at the youth levels. Yeah. So our softball development program is this one-stop shop to make sure that the athletes have all the resources they need.
Yeah, I mean, these are all the things that, I used to do private lessons, just the fact that I trusted myself more than somebody else. But every Monday I come in here, I'm looking at the data, putting the girls in the right buckets they need to be in, based on what the data says. And I've had 2 girls that go to a private hitting coach, and no matter what they do in the weekend, they follow the same 30-minute routine. They go to the same exact thing, same warm-up, same tee work, no matter what the results were in the game, and their bodies are completely different. They swing completely different. They have different needs, but they're doing the same thing for 30 minutes.
Yeah. I think and I think what's so funny about this is at the highest levels in college softball, because we have this really awesome group of high level college softball players who train with us. We're talking LMU, Portland State, Fresno. We have San Jose State. Like we have some studs in this building on the softball side. And when we ask them like what you've experienced here, and you go off to college, like how would you compare it? And like, oh, we use tech, we do this, we do lifting, we do all these, we do a lot of the same stuff that you're doing. It's like, I think that I'm hoping there's more visibility at the college level that now this is going to become the norm, right?
So I work with a lot of college programs, and I would say we probably do more than most. I think they're just now starting into the tech, like the bigger ones, the more advanced Power Fives. They're very tech driven, but a lot of them are just now getting on board, so we can actually help them as well in how they train and develop their own players.
Yeah. So.
And so just to go on to that point, like we talk about it on the baseball side a lot, right? Challenging that authority and making sure that we crush the ego from the very beginning, right? We want to put all of the athlete's needs in his hands so that he is able to do what he wants with it. Mm-hmm. How, and this is once again an open-ended question, but how do you see that working on the softball side? Like you said, with such again, justified attention, right? But with such an ego-filled system, how do you start to either break it away or kind of just notch it all down together?
So I think, for one, if you're a coach, the players should come first, right?
Yes.
If you want to win, you need better players to win. So there should be no problem with player development happening outside of your team. We're giving you a better player, right? So if they really care about the players, this shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, so I think you have to almost not challenge it, but say, look, if we're here for the players and players first, which we all should be as a coach, then this should be no issue.
Yeah. I think the challenging the status quo, like there's one of our notes, the status quo right now is to almost play politics. Make coaches happy by doing what they want you to do, and then hopefully you survive the fire, the experience. Hopefully you are 5'8" to 5'11". Hopefully you're a really good athlete. Hopefully you start checking all these boxes so you can go on to play college. And so you really have to kind of look in the mirror as a parent and as a player, like, am I doing what is going to make me better? Am I doing everything that I possibly can? And then am I doing it in the most efficient way possible? Like, I'm going to drive here to my pitching coach. I'm going to go here to my hitting coach. I'm going to go here to my personal trainer. Oh, and I have a speed trainer too. And I'm going to go to travel ball practice. And then I got to go to my high school practice. And then, I got to go. It's like you're going all over town and you're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on player development. And then your daughter goes out onto the field and gets the same result. And it's just maddening to me. Like, it's
and then
frustrating.
Doesn't make a team. They get cut from the travel ball team or the high school team.
Exactly, and that brings up a perfect segue to our next point, right? The cost of all of this, right? And not necessarily the money in dollars like we're talking about, but generally your life cost of you doing all of these games, all of this training, all this pitching lessons, the speed training, when you could consolidate, save your time, energy, and money, and come to one spot where all of that can be fixed. How do you see, and I'll kind of base it off the last question, but how do you see people kind of conforming from I need to play every single tournament to maybe I don't play that tournament and maybe I train in the facility 4 days a week and see how that works?
I think it needs to take a total shift in the whole how this is all done from a recruiting standpoint all the way down, right? Yeah. So if you really understand college recruiting, how it works, and can walk and through that process, it's a lot easier. But a lot of these travel programs or these showcases say certain things, and parents get bought into it. They feel like, if I miss that, I'm screwed. Or that's not the case, right? Yeah. We can do a lot for recruiting-wise with the data we have and how we can use it to give it to a coach. But I think it needs to really challenge how things are done and looking at what the cost really is, because it's a fear of losing out or a fear of not keeping up with the person next to me. Like, if I don't do it, they're going to do it and they're going to beat me to that spot. Yeah. That's just not the case, right? So I think that's part of it. But we really need to just step back and what are we trying to do with these athletes? And really got to develop them from the ground up, because the college coach is going to want to develop what we're on play.
Yeah, I think the speaking of recruiting, speaking of the cost, is the current system for your daughter to make it to the college level, because that is the peak currently for softball. It leads to a 2 to 3% success rate.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that means 98% of players are not achieving that goal of playing college sports.
And that's for a vast amount of reasons.
And it's complex, right? Yeah. But that's an overwhelming reason to say the current system is broken. The current system is to the point that it's corrupt. and that the players that are actually surviving this system, they're likely just freak athletes, right? So I think the case can be made. The data shows that, hey, the current way of doing it, playing for your travel team, doing lessons, playing for your high school team, and depending on your high school, some girls, I'm starting to hear, like, there's a player who came in last week, I don't play for my high school team. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Players view high school season as a spring training almost, like it's an off season. Girls actually train more during their high school season.
League.
Yeah, to get ready for the summer. The system is completely broken. So I think that, which is usually the goal, on top of the fact that injuries, the most like taboo and unspoken thing in the softball world, injuries are high, like knee injuries, like for a female athlete versus a male athlete, are more prevalent. It happens. Arm injuries for pitchers too. It doesn't turn into a blowout injury like in baseball.
Yeah.
It just drops performance to the point that you get cut.
Yep.
I've always thought that stigma is mind-boggling to me, that an arm can move in that rotation just in the opposite direction of a baseball player, and people go, "Oh, she's not going to get injured by doing that."
And that's
mind.
No, and there's definitely, we could have a whole nother podcast.
Yeah,
There's a different reason that girls can handle more because of the mechanics of it.
Very true.
But there's a physiological reason.
It's still
females are built to handle more discomfort and pain.
Yeah.
And then we add the male-female dynamic. You have a male coach asking players, how do you feel today? Which males, we don't like talking about feelings. We don't like asking that question. And then on top of that, if it's your dad, you're not going to tell your dad that, oh, my arm hurts. Yeah. You're just going to go gut it out, and then you're going to get lit up, or you're going to strike out, and you're going to suck. And then you're going to break down, and ultimately you end up quitting because you're like, I don't even want to deal with this injury piece. I'm just either going to keep my mouth shut to the point where I'm like, I have to go to the hospital because I'm blown something out, or I'm going to be so bad that I just quit. Yeah. So I think the cost of doing it, the cost of continuing this and perpetuating this system that's been built, is going to lead to more and more girls quitting. Yep. It's going to lead to more and more players getting hurt. It's going to lead to, we're already seeing the ramifications from a mental health standpoint at the collegiate level, right? Like, it is drastic. True. It's real. Yeah. So we need to take, the way we can fix this, and this has been our approach, is grassroots. We got to get, and we need to work with the girls at the youngest age possible. Yep. We're forging partnerships to be able to do that. We need to make sure they're given the correct training. We need to make sure that we as an entire staff are working together, hitting coach and strength coach. We need to partner with other like-minded high school coaches and travel coaches. We're looking for more. I've talked to as many as possible. Like, we want athletes to get better. We want them to be successful. And we want to change the system because the system's broken.
Yeah, I mean, my high school, St. Francis, I think we've won CCS last year, won the first California State Championship. I think 16 girls last year, 14 are D1 committed. Huge difference between St. Francis and other programs. They lift year round. Yeah. They're in the weight room year round. Not to this extreme. They're just going not going through the motions, but they have a lifting program in place. But it's a huge difference between those teams and other high school programs, even within the WCAL conference. Yeah. They separate themselves through that.
I think one of the questions I ask for most of the athletes on their assessment is like, have you ever worked out before?
Yeah.
Over like 85 to 95%, I've never worked out before.
Yeah.
And it's another reason I'm passionate about. It's like a female athlete at a high school getting into the weight room, let alone being instructed and coached, because they actually want to be coached. Male athletes in a high school weight room just want to go do bench press and then do biceps and tries.
Strongest.
Yeah, where the girls, like, they'd actually listen to a coach coaching them in the weight room
to a fault.
They want to get better,
and they don't even get access. They don't even get into the weight room. So,
and how many times you've probably seen it? A girl comes in for an assessment. To pitcher, her right side is very developed, and the left side is very underdeveloped.
Yeah,
it's in your weight now.
No, I think the goal of softball at KPI, the goal of what we're doing here, is to empower athletes, put them at the center of this process, give them the opportunity to be in control of their development, give them the right resources, and then this is, I think, a big one. Accountability has to be two ways. If a coach tells you to do something and you do it and you don't get better, or they can't prove that you're getting better, or you consistently have poor performances, that coach needs to be held accountable, just like you hold that player accountable.
Yeah. I mean, I've said it since day one, so maybe I'm a different breed of a coach, but accountability is a two-way street. The player needs to get what you're going to get what you need out of a player, but the player needs to get what they need from you as a coach and organization. And I'm 100% for that as a coach, so hold me just as accountable as I am.
And I think that's what we can definitely, if you have any more input, I know we've been ranting, but I feel like that's the part that will ultimately change this system. Is the only way a player currently can hold a coach accountable is just going to another team.
Yep.
but then they just do that over and over and over again.
Right.
So the coaches aren't being held accountable to actually developing players. And then what ends up happening is then the filter happens. The best players all of a sudden just end up on the same team. That team goes win some PGF tournament, and they're the best program in the area, and it just happens over and over.
Sure.
And it just becomes a cyclical thing. So,
and if a girl leaves, she's the problem.
yes.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to they're not coachable, they're not listening. It's like, well, maybe you're just a bad coach and you're not telling them the right stuff.
Right.
Or you have nothing to prove. Like, that's why I love the data in this building. Like, we can talk to a player, break down their swinging, and say, here's exactly what's happening and why it's happening. Here are the drills and the tools and the things that you need to do to do that. And if you do, what do you know? You get better.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, too, with girls, especially on the softball side, they go to a hitting coach and they want to see the results in the field and they don't see that they get down. So now they're struggling. They come here, they start to see the results. In the smiles, you see these girls walking in ear to ear. It's like, it works.
I think that's I've said this to every family. The part that I am the most proud about is athletes like coming to KPI.
Yes.
They want to come to KPI. They want to be here as much as possible. And that creates an environment that kids get better, like a positive environment where you're working on something together as a group and everybody cheers when somebody PRs. I think that's really, really powerful.
And we challenge them out there too. It's not easy.
No, that's
we
true.
challenge them. All our softball players go through the same thing. Whether you're a 12U player or a college, they're all going through the same thing out there on a Monday and Wednesday night.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah. Ranting over.
They're very good. Thank you guys very much for listening to Talking Points with KPI episode number 53. This is about softball development. Please always put the athlete first, right? We're trying to limit the burnout of softball players, as you heard before. 2 to 3% make it on, so we're going to try to break that system and get those percentages up higher here at KPI. We really do appreciate you listening. Please go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and please subscribe to our YouTube at Kinetic Performance Institute. Thank you guys very much for listening.